Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
Okay, this is a do-over. I was in my car and I saw that my video had been uploaded, so I tried to use my phone to do YouTube editor to put it all together, and I just immediately I listened to the thing that I did, and I'm like, okay, it's okay, you know. So I just went ahead and said, okay, this is public. Once it's done processing, it'll be public. So it was up for a while. And then as I'm driving home, I'm like, oh, I want to see how it turned out. It's like 6 minutes long, and the video that I made was 17 minutes. So I don't know what happened. It went crazy. It did something stupid. But anyway, so I'm redoing the video. Hopefully this will now have the entire 17 minutes of what I did before. March 24th, 2015, article by J.T. Eberhard. Duck Dynasty star fantasizes about atheist family being raped and murdered to show morality comes from God. On Friday, Duck Dynasty star Phil Robertson gave a speech at the Vero Beach Prayer Breakfast. In an attempt to deliver some wisdom about morality, he hypothesizes a list of atrocities happening to an atheist family. You should not read this if you have a light stomach. I'll make a bet with you, Robertson said. 2 guys break into an atheist's home. He has a little atheist wife and 2 little atheist daughters. 2 guys break into his home and tie him up in a chair and gag him. And then they take his 2 daughters in front of him and rape both of them and then shoot them. And they take his wife and then decapitate her head off in front of him, and then they can look at him and say, isn't it great that I don't have to worry about being judged? Isn't it great that there's nothing wrong with this? There's no right or wrong now, is it, dude? Robertson kept going. Then you take a sharp knife and take his manhood and hold it in front of him and say, wouldn't it be something if this was something wrong with this? But you're the one who says there is no God and there's no right. I'm sorry. But you're the one who says there is no God. There's no right, there's no wrong. So we're just having fun. We're sick in the head. Have a nice day. Wow. Thanks for the lecture, guy who just implied he'd rape and murder without the fear of God punishing him. Isn't it great I don't have to worry about being judged? The reason they gagged and bound the hypothetical atheist is because if he had the power to stop them, even at a risk to his life, it's a certainty he would try. God, on the other hand, is free to stop the hypothetical criminals at any time, but doesn't. All the justice we see in this world comes from people. If we only relied on God to capture and judge maniacs, they'd all go free. It turns out we're perfectly capable of judging cruelty as abhorrent on our own. In fact, left with only the Bible to guide us, we'd have to detach compassion from our morality completely. In the Bible, we would have to kill the victims along with the rapists, since this presumably didn't take place in a field. If a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married, and he sleeps with her, you shall take both of them to the gate of that town and stone them to death. The young woman, because she was in a town and did not scream for help, and the man, because he violated another man's wife. You must purge the evil from among you. Or remember that time Moses ordered his soldiers to keep the virgins to be raped? Here, let me jog your memory. Have you allowed all the women to live? He asked them. They were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord in the Peor incident, P-E-O-R incident, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Now kill all the boys and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save yourselves every girl who has, but save for yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man. You want to know who I'd be afraid of? Moses, and anybody who idolizes him and wants to live by his example. Same with the God who commanded the murder of raped women in Deuteronomy. There's no atheist who says there's no right and wrong. None. We just say right and wrong is based on compassion, not following orders. A bunch of people in an age of ignorance took the time to write down, you sick fuck. If more people had found morality in their empathy, there never would have been a woman stoned to death for having sex, or a witch burned at the stake by people whose blood ran thick with Jesus. Those lives, and uncountable more lives, could have all been saved if people had read the Bible and said, "That's cruel. I won't do it," instead of saying, "Yes, my Lord." It's ridiculous. I haven't read the actual article. I am going to find it, though. Let me go back and read it, because I kind of want to read it now. That talks about this piece of shit. I never watched Duck Dynasty, and now I'm very glad I never did. It seemed like an incredibly stupid show when I saw it, the previews for it. Okay, so this is under Raw Story. This is the article about this piece of shit. If I can scroll down. Fortunately, I have a computer that's incredibly slow. Okay. Oh, well, shoot. This is another one of those things where you click on the link and you get all the comments about it. Okay, here it is. Duck Dynasty patriarch Phil Robertson conjured up a lurid fantasy about the rape and murder of an atheist family to illustrate a point about following God's law. The reality TV star made the comments Friday at the Vero Beach prayer breakfast, and Christian conservative radio host Rick Wiles aired them later that day on his True News program, reported Right Wing Watch. And then he talks about the whole scenario about killing the daughters and the wife, and say, well, you know, if there's no God, then there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. There's no such thing as right or wrong if there's no God. Then he talks about cutting the guy's penis off, so we're not going to repeat all that. We're sick in the head, have a nice day. And then what else does the article says? If it happened to them, they probably would say something about this just ain't right, Robertson added. Okay, so that, I guess that's the article. I thought there might be more on the actual story, because the thing that I read first was something written about the story. This is the actual story, so pretty much it's the same thing. So, you know, it's interesting how these Christians, these really seriously foaming at the mouth, rabid, let's kill atheist Christians, these Taliban Christians that are trying to take over this country and lock gay people behind bars and make it legal to kill atheists, you know. It's interesting how these Christians fantasize about, and it's interesting, his fantasy reminds me a lot of, if you go to any kind of porn site and read comments that people make under porn videos. It's kind of the same kind of thing, fantasizing about raping little girls and in front of the husband, you know, raping the wife and the little girls. That's a sick porn addict's kind of fantasy, and that's what this guy probably is. But yeah, so he's having his little fantasy public in front of a bunch of people apparently, and he's thinking to himself, if it wasn't for God, if God did not exist, it would be perfectly okay to kill, to rape, to cut somebody's dick off. You know, there's no right or wrong. If God doesn't exist, if there's no little rule book, if there's nobody watching what you're doing and keeping tabs on you, you can just run amok and murder and kill and rape and do whatever you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. Isn't that scary? Isn't it scary that these supposedly really holy, pious, right, religiously pure and wholesome people would be running amok with knives, slashing and killing everything that moves if they suddenly realized there was no such thing as God? If they didn't have the leash on them, if they were suddenly, the leash was snapped off their little collar, they'd be... Isn't it scary? I think it's scary that these people exist, and some of them might even have contact with small children. That scares me. It's funny, when I was a Christian, I never in a million years thought that I could kill somebody or murder murder, kill, same thing. I never in a million years thought myself capable of raping or murdering or hurting somebody without God in my life. If I didn't have God, I mean, I never thought, wow, if I didn't have God, I could run around and cause people all kinds of harm. I never thought that. Never crossed my mind that, gosh, you know, dang, I just want to go rape somebody or murder somebody so bad. But I can't because it's wrong. Yeah, I gotta keep reminding myself that all the time. It's wrong. It says in the Bible, that's my little guidebook of what's right and wrong. If I didn't have that little book, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be running all over the place, killing and murdering, and it would be perfectly okay. I never had that thought. I never thought when I was losing my belief in Jesus, when I was losing my belief, period, I never started feeling, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Am I going to start being a murderer? Am I going to run around causing people harm? Am I going to end up in jail because I can't believe in God? I never had that fear. I just kept right on being who I was. I kept being myself and who I was as my religious belief kind of crashed and burned around my ears. I just continued to be who I was. I walked through the fire unscathed. And I still looked at people and loved people and wanted to, and felt caring inside for people. And I hurt when I see people hurting. And I feel bad when I can't help somebody that I want to help. None of that has been remotely damaged by the loss of religion or my loss of belief. I still believe in all the things I believed before, that people have a right to be treated with compassion and respect, and you know, their dignity should be preserved at all costs, and if you can help somebody, do, and if you can compliment somebody, do, and if you can make somebody smile, do. All these things that I've always tried to live by, none of that's gone. None of that went away. If anything, I think it's only gotten stronger because all the judging that I used to do, oh my gosh, oh, you know, you're not a Christian, oh my gosh, all that's gone. It kind of was, I didn't realize until it was gone that it was kind of a wall between my ability to truly emphasize with other people and feel and suffer along with somebody else and want to help somebody else. It was like yeah, well, you know, but they're not a Christian. Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. I think that this is a great illustration of how people who are deeply immersed in this cult are their morality is bankrupt. Their sense of morality is bankrupt. They're like, you know, they can't walk without the crutch. If they don't have the crutch, their morality just goes, or at least they think that it will, which is just so disturbing that they have such little faith in their own ability and understanding to know what's right, what is right and what is wrong. They actually think that if the crutch was taken away from them, they would just suddenly become mindless barbarians running around killing people. This guy, this Phil Robertson, I have no doubt would be. But how scary that that Christians actually think that without Christianity, without this cult, without belief in this God, who, by the way, is like the greatest committer of atrocities against humankind ever, they think that without this God and this crutch, they would just be weak and at the mercy of Satan, and they'd be just running around killing and they'd have no control. Imagine having such little confidence in your own goodness, such little understanding of the qualities in your own heart, the good qualities that you have, the good qualities that you were born with, or that were given to you, inspired by your parents or the good people in your life that you've known. Imagine having such little confidence that you think without this cult, you're going to turn into a monster. Oh my God, I have to believe. What am I going to do? What will I do to society, to people if I don't believe? That's just sick. It robs people of their own confidence in their own selves and their own judgment. Anyway, I don't want this to get too long. My phone is buzzing. I just read this and I'm just like, the damage that this cult does to people is so insidious. It rips apart your self-esteem. It makes you feel like you can never be good enough. But it also makes you feel like you can't be good at all. At all. You are not good. You're an evil, wicked monster. Unless you have the crutch. It's just sad. Anyway, so, glad I never saw Duck Dynasty, and I think this guy is scum, and it does really scare me, though. The things that I have continued to read about in recent news, atheists wanting laws to make it, or atheists, some guy, I think it's in California, who wants to make a law that it's okay to kill. Yeah. Oh, here, I'm sorry, it's not atheist here. I'm scrolling through Facebook. Kill the gays measure one step closer to California ballot. Yeah. Scary. It's the Christian Taliban, whatever the hell, however it's pronounced. And it's really trying to sink its teeth into, and it's what? 2015? We're going to kill people just for who they fall in love with or who they sleep with? I'm sorry, this cult is sick. This cult is a disease, and it creates sickness. It creates sick people that needs to be opposed. Contempt is the word that Christopher Hitchens uses. Needs to be ridiculed and mocked and treated with hatred and contempt. And, no truer words have ever been said. So anyway, I gotta get to work. Thanks for watching if you have. And I'm also going to take advantage of the fact that I am having to do this video over to tack on an ending that I didn't have before. I wanted to make a comment and I forgot. This Phil Robertson character, his little scenario. You notice how he phrases his little, two guys break into an atheist home. He has a little atheist wife. Can it get any more sexist than that? Little atheist wife. Yeah. Hard to believe that I mean, hard to get any more sexist than that. And somebody I posted this on Facebook, somebody wrote a very good observation about this whole thing, and I want to read it. Her name is Melissa Crawford Bonnet. Melissa Crawford Bonnet. Okay, she writes, "We each have our own individual moral compass that we set depending upon our empathy and social structure, how we have perceived pain and joy in our own experiences, and in part by how our parents treated us, not what they say, because people contradict themselves in what they say versus what they do. That's why we form our morality out of how we feel. We judge right and wrong on how we ourselves have been made to feel. Some of us will rebel against mistreatment by becoming extra caring for others. Some become morally damaged by abuses. Others have brains that are just not wired right. Damaged people will use their religion as an excuse to act out on their already warped desires. But if there was no religion, these sick people would still be able to find a venue to justify their opinions and excuse their actions. All humans are biased for and against certain ideas, thoughts, and opinions, and we all seek information that will confirm our own already formed personal biases. Then we use cherry-picked information as weapons to throw at those who oppose us. Too much ego is a nasty thing." She also writes, she wrote a couple comments that I thought were really good. Her first comment, if I can get to it. Okay. "What human being with even a grain of empathy would think such acts are okay and not punishable crimes, regardless of their theism or atheism? The difference is the person committing such atrocities can repent and be forgiven and still be rewarded with an eternity in paradise. But the atheist in the chair, the victim and his horribly tortured and murdered family, will spend eternity enduring more torture. The thing is, if he really thought that atheists were so inhumane and detached from human emotions like love and sympathy and rage at witnessing injustice, why would he make the appeal to their emotions and love of family by using a story constructed specifically to appeal to an atheist's love for family and the heartbreak of seeing his family being harmed?" Yeah, very observant young lady. So that's all. I just wanted to make a few more comments on this whole thing and share Melissa's comment. So again, if you've been watching, thank you. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.
Share the same weather, winter or summer, May or September, the 4th of whenever. It's better together. Let's get together. Home is where